To this perverted redefinition of truth, Peterson even concludes that facts are not necessarily true.
Then I would say that I don't think that facts are necessarily true.
But Peterson doesn't just play philosophically fast and loose when it comes to facts, figures, and definitions. He can't even answer a straightforward yes or no question honestly.
Do you believe that Jesus rose again from the dead? Literally.
I cannot answer that question. And the reason is because, okay, let me think about it for a minute, see if I can come up with a reasonable answer to that. Well, the first answer would be, it depends on what you mean by Jesus.
A historical human being that existed
In a body. And
in a body.
In a body. Do you believe that or do you not believe it? You know, it's not, it's... I don't know.
Now come on, is this really the first time that Peterson has ever considered that question? And yet he did manage to answer a related question a little bit more directly. Do you go to church? No. In my experience, the ministers are too frequently lying. I can't stand to hear them say words they don't believe. But how could a man who doesn't even know what he believes possibly know what others truly believe? How can he know they are lying about Jesus when that would entirely depend upon what they mean by Jesus? And how can a man who claims that facts are not necessarily true possibly claim that anyone else is lying? Now, we've recently seen Peterson and public figures on the left who have been elevated and promoted as an acceptable opposition by the mainstream media, the most notorious example being the New York Times' proclamation of the intellectual dark web. That includes Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, and Sam Harris, among others. And the reason that they've been elevated is because their whole job is to prevent young men from moving towards nationalism and Christianity in their ongoing rejection of the neoliberal world order.
That's why I'm talking to them. I'm trying to call them forth as individuals out of the chaos that they're ensconced in.
If you pay attention, you notice that none of these members of the approved opposition are Christians, and more importantly, everything you see come out of their mouths is anti-nationalist.
A person who is living abroad in Japan could be more of an American than a person who's born in Ohio.
Now, it's not always directly anti-nationalist, and Jordan Peterson is much more clever than Ben Shapiro in this regard.
The distance between the typical citizen and the bureaucracy that runs the entire structure has got so great that it's an element of destabilization in and of itself. And so people revert back to, say, nationalistic identities because it's something that they can relate to.
What Peterson does is to criticize globalist institutions like the European Union and the United Nations because he thinks that they are moving too fast, too far, for the public to accept.
Because we're not built for static utopia. We're built for a dynamic situation.
But the reality is, his long-term objectives are almost identical to the long-term goals of George Soros and other globalists. That may sound improbable, but in a recent interview with George Soros, the great financier of Antifa and global society rather improbably insisted that he is non-ideological. Jordan Peterson also claims to be non-ideological, despite his globalism, his employment by the United Nations, and his history as a socialist activist. In that same interview, George Soros said that his main concern was that the left has become too extreme, which happens to be precisely the same concern that was revealed by Peterson in what was billed as a debate on political correctness with Stephen Fry, Michael Dyson, and Michelle Goldberg.
And that's what this debate is about political correctness. It's about the left going too far. And I think it's gone too far in many ways. And I'd like to figure out exactly how and when so the reasonable left could make its ascendance again and we could quit all this nonsense.
Jordan Peterson is trying to fix globalism. He's actively seeking to destroy your nation and your faith because he believes it's necessary in order to save the world. So in conclusion, I'll ask you this. For what shall it profit a man if he shall clean his room and lose his own soul? I'm Vox Day. This is Voxiversity.